Three, should the Bulls foul? No. Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied. Reset down by 2. Mike Woodson not calling timeout.
And I like that move.
In the hands of Anthony. Anthony for three. Puts it in! Knicks by 1 with 8.2 remaining.
Welcome to the Running Hook Podcast with Alex Bird. Welcome to the Running Hook Podcast. My name is Alex Burr, and I have a special guest this week. He's the only Knicks fan I know. Jacob Keith, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I love the Knicks, and I'm so excited to talk about probably the best moment in Knicks history this, decade?
Oh, it's coming right off the heels of Linsanity, too.
I know.
And so this game, today we're going to be talking about that took place on April 8th, 2012, between the Bulls and the Knicks. This is a game that most people remember as the Carmelo Anthony shots, game tying and game winning shots against the Bulls. And so before we get that far, Jacob, what are your Knicks fans' bona fides? When did you start being a Knicks fan?
So actually it was shortly before this. I think it was this season where I first started following them, mostly because, they were good on 2K. I feel like everyone who doesn't like their, hometown team in a saying got it because they liked them on 2K. And I was just getting really into 2K. And so I was like, they have cool uniforms. Melo's awesome to play with. I'll just pick them.
And for this game, at least, you made a good choice.
I did. Also, you said the Jeremy Lin Sanity saga was shortly before this, and that is still my favorite moment out of almost any basketball, string of events. Like, I just loved watching Jeremy Lin.
We probably could have picked any of 10 Jeremy Lin games from Linsanity. He was absolutely bonkers. But in this game, he was injured. He was on the injury list. He didn't even play.
I know. It was a rough patch because I remember they were doing really bad before they signed Jeremy Lin. They signed Jeremy Lin, were doing better, and then he was out, and I was like, they're going to go back to being bad again.
But this game, they played out of their minds. The Bulls came into the game. They were the number 1 seed in the East, with 43-13. The Bulls. So let me give my bona fides first. I fell in love with the Bulls 2011. Derrick Rose won MVP in 2011. You could probably see the correlation there. And I love Luol Deng. I love Joakim Noah. I love Taj Gibson. They're all very important players in my heart. Taj Gibson none of those guys are probably important to you in your heart because most of them played for the Knicks and poorly. But
hey, Taj Gibson's playing right now.
Right. That's right. Luol Deng unfortunately never made it that far. He just went to the Knicks of the West Coast, the Lakers, while Chimpas owned them. But still, I just loved all those guys. In this game, do you remember where you were when you watched this game?
I do not, but I do remember where I was when the next day, because I assume I was just at my house sitting on the couch watching it, but I do remember running my mouth the next day at lunch in 6th grade saying, look, I picked the right team, finally. My Knicks are good.
And then I remember exactly where I was. I was in my mom's room. It was Easter this day, and I just remember my head was on my hands. For people who, this is obviously a audio medium, I'm putting my hands on my head because that's how I felt watching Melo. I was not scared of any player in the league more than I was scared of Melo. He was absolutely on fire this game, and I forgot just how on fire he was.
Yeah, when I was rewatching this, I didn't realize his first quarter he was even hot because I think he went 5 for 5 in the first quarter, and he started off they talked a little bit about it. This is one of the first games of Melo playing the 4. He used to be, obviously small forward, and this is when the Knicks started playing him at the 4. And the pick and pops they ran with him were just destructive.
And Luol Deng wasn't playing bad defense either. He was sticking him as best he could, but there was only so much Luol could do because Carmelo was hitting him with those shoulder duck-ins, with the step backs. I mean, Melo's game was so smooth, he could get a shot off against anybody, and Luol Deng was probably the premier wing defender in 2012.
This was also a really good defensive game for Melo. Like, when I was rewatching this, he was playing like hard defense the whole time, which, people usually just bully Melo for taking a bunch of jump shots and not playing defense. He played hard defense in this game.
And he played it on Boozer, and Boozer's a bruiser.
Yeah. He was one of the better guys guarding him. Like, in recent memory, seeing like a small guy play against someone bigger, Melo like held his own.
And it was hard. Boozer at that point was kind of in the in-between stage of like, oh, we gave this guy a max contract, what a mistake, and this guy was an all-star, what a great contract. But Boozer was, his bona fides in Utah, he was one of the probably 20 best players in the league when he was in Utah. And then, still, at this point, he was probably one of the 40 best. But still, he was a hard guy to guard. As much as they tried, he was really the only one in the first quarter who was able to consistently get a shot up. And even then, the Knicks defense, aided by Melo, just swarmed him.
Yeah, I forgot how gross this defensive team was. Because you got to also remember, they don't have Amari. Amari's injured at this time, and young Amari was a good defensive player. Obviously he was better offensively, but he could hold his own defensively. But I think I can't talk any more about this game without talking about my boy Iman Shumpert. Rookie year, I forgot how great of a defender he was.
Sorry, I think I muted myself. I wrote down some stat lines I wanted to pay attention to for this game. Iman Shumpert had 15 points, not special, but in a game with 100 points, 15's a lot. He had 9 rebounds, 4 steals, 6 assists in 45 minutes. And I'll get to Derrick Rose's numbers in just a second, but Shumpert was Derrick Rose's primary defender, and Rose shot 8 for 26 from the field.
Yeah, I think surely Derrick Rose was just coming back from injury at this point. I think he was like a few games. I don't know how many. They talked about it in the broadcast. But Iman Shumpert's a rookie this season. And just to see him play against one of the most explosive offensive players we had in the league at that time and play well, it really just showed what he could have been in a sense.
I think you're understating it. He dominated Derrick Rose in that matchup, and it's not – I think we should have probably seen the signs when he struggled against LeBron in the 2011 Eastern Conference Finals. But, Rose just struggled with long wings who were as quick as he was, which wasn't a whole lot of wings, which is why it was probably just LeBron and Iman Shumpert who shut him down. But Shumpert had his number this game.
Yeah, I think it was odd because, we're used – I think in recent memory, the best Iman Shumpert memories is on the Cavs when he was not very good at all. And the problem with guys like this, when you're trying to be so great, you're just a great athlete and you're a great defensive player. If you lose that half a step, because Iman Shumpert, he had a couple drives where his first step was fast. He was playing well offensively and defensively. But when you lose just a bit of that quickness, you really struggle to stay in the league.
And it's crazy to say. I would say for this game, I would give out 2 MVPs. I'd give out a defensive MVP and an offensive MVP. Offensive MVP, Melo. There's no dispute. Defensive MVP, there's no dispute either. Shumpert was just all over the place. And it was like he was so quick. He held Derrick Rose. Because the Bulls were playing more isolation style that game. They just, But even when they tried to run plays for like Korver, Shumpert's pressure up top got Rose to throw some errant passes. Rose finished with 8 turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, it just it makes me sad because he was so good when he was young. Like, just to see what we could have had a really great defender, like an all-star defender, and Amon Shumpert. And I don't know if it was just him losing that half step or just not motivated to keep in shape, but like him and JR both in this game kind of reminded me that duo that would like not carry the Knicks, but would be Melo's sidekicks throughout this future few years of the Knicks.
And we're jumping ahead, but JR really sucked in this game until he didn't suck. And that's like the kind of J.R. Smith personified, where he's just is like the definition of streaky. Like if you're going to put streaky in the dictionary, J.R. Smith's picture would be next to it. And it's how he became such an important Cavs contributor, because with LeBron, you don't need to be on all the time, but when you're on with LeBron, you're going to get the ball. And I think that's why he ended up being more of a contributor than Shumpert, because he was a better offensive player, and those offensive players age better than the guys whose games are defense first.
Yeah, I think this is like a top 5 most J.R. Smith game ever. Because I'm looking at the box score right now. It's 6 for 22 field goals, 37 minutes, and 14 points.
But then you look at – I'm going to pull up the fourth quarter box score. Fourth quarter and overtime. So let's see. Fourth quarter, JR was 1 for 6, but he had a huge 3. Overtime, he had 5 points, and the Knicks scored 9.
Yeah, him and Melo in that fourth quarter, just watching it again got me excited. Just to see those two, because that's like almost like nothing I've ever seen before. To see like two great offensive players, like obviously JR's streaky, but when he's on, he was one of the best in the league at this time. Because people kind of forget when you look at young JR, he's a supreme athlete too.
Mm-hmm.
And this Melo he's strong. He's a bully. Like when he shoots, like he's going to get his open shot. It was just really refreshing to see that.
I mean, how many times in the game did you think to yourself, wow, that was bad defense by the Bulls, or wow, that was bad defense by Luol Deng when Melo got a shot up? It wasn't often.
Yeah, I actually thought the Bulls played really well defensively. And I think this Knicks team, this kind of described the Knicks season, because I think we have to, like after this, we have to talk about the defense the Knicks played. But their offense, I think that's why Jeremy Lin he was just like a plug-and-play guy, because this offense was not very good. But when it was on, it was on. And tonight it was on.
Right, and I think that was aided. The Knicks jumped out to a 27-6 lead in the first quarter?
Yeah, that was nice to watch. That's probably the first time that's happened in 10 years.
I know. And then the Bulls just clawed their way back because Derrick Rose went on an explosion in the third quarter. But that was the Bulls, I think for the last – it was a while after they scored their last points because the Bulls had a 10-point lead with like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and the Knicks just scored all the points after that.
Yeah, the Knicks really – this Knicks team shut down in the fourth quarter defensively. Like they controlled – not only did they control the pace, like sadly for the Bulls, a lot of the ending was missing free throws, which I kind of forgot about, but they weren't getting open shots. And
the Bulls, I think there was one call, like one shot on Boozer where they probably could have called a goaltend. Or, no, it was the other way around where Boozer blocked a shot on Melo. Did they call the goaltend? That was questionable. But even then, it's like it's Melo. Melo's going to get that call. You have to do the best with what the officials give you, and if the officials give you shots, you have to make them.
Yeah, Melo played. I don't know if we're going to talk about this now or later, but whenever we're ready for the Melo thing, I have just a lot because this is my favorite Melo game.
Okay, but the Bulls did miss 9 free throws. So you weren't off base there. Derrick Rose shot 9 for 12. Boozer went 1 for 3. Luol Deng went 5 for 7, which isn't bad. But, I mean, if you make 2 of those, it's 101, 100. We're not talking about this game.
Yeah. It was really also, I think, other than the great defense by the Knicks, they also rebounded really well. Like, that was one thing that I noticed just when, like, Tyson Chandler, I forgot how good of a rebounder he is. Because, we usually just remember him for being this all-star defensive player, but he's an unreal rebounder.
You want to guess how many offensive rebounds he had?
How many?
10.
I know he had 16 in the game, but that's a lot. He was such a good player for the Knicks in the few years he was a Knick.
I don't remember if it was at the end of the fourth quarter or at the end of overtime, but one of those, the Knicks got like 5 shots on the last possession because he just kept tipping it out. He was the master of that tip out. That's like such a specialized skill, and he just had it down to a T. It was incredible watching him just tap the ball out. And it's kind of a dumb skill if you just don't think about basketball, but then you like watch the game and you're like, oh, he's getting it to Shumpert at the top of the key. And then that's just an extra 24 seconds for you. That's more valuable back then, since that was an extra 24 seconds you could kill off the clock.
Yeah, I think that's one of his underrated skills is you said it, tipping it out. And he was really like the backbone, the silent leader of this team. Because like when he was on, he set the tone. And he went out for a little bit, something with his elbow, I think. And like the Knicks play suffered because of it.
Yeah, in the first quarter, you just noticed the Bulls went on their run. Because I think, let's just say the Bulls had 9 points with 3 minutes left in the quarter when the Melo and Tyson Chandler came out the first time, right? The Knicks didn't stop scoring, but they started letting up points. The score at the end of the first quarter was 19-31. So that's a 10-point margin right there. And Tyson Chandler, I want to talk about the Knicks defense some more. Like, that was an incredible defensive group. The Knicks team, like, and Woodson is such a good defensive coach. Like, because D'Antoni was the coach earlier in the season, and the difference is just stark in style. It's not a coincidence that they won 54 games the next year, I don't think. Because I wish Melo had kept playing the 4, personally. But
yeah, that was kind of ahead of its era. Like, I understand why they quit playing him at the 4 was because of the defense. But really and truthfully, I don't think they needed to. Tyson Chandler could guard everyone. Young Tyson Chandler, he won Defensive Player of the Year. Like, he's an unreal defender in this as a Knick.
He was. I think Melo stopped playing the 4 because Melo wanted to stop playing the 4. I think that's what it was. And Melo was a super duper star. Where you put him in the league, you could quibble, but he earned the right to say, I don't want to play the 4. I'm Carmelo Anthony. Like, there's just certain guys. Like Kawhi. Let's just say Kawhi for some reason decided he wanted to start playing point guard. You're like, well, he's Kawhi. He can do whatever he wants. People forget how good Carmelo was. And I think we can transition to that now. People forget how good he was. His game is so smooth.
Yeah, it was like fluid. Because, usually people see him as a ball stopper. I think was everyone's big complaint. But in this game, I feel like every shot he took, it felt like it was going to go in. When he's on, there are few players that I can remember watching that I get more scared of.
He was, well, like I said at the beginning, I'm terrified. I was terrified of him as a Bulls fan in 2012. He'd done nothing but torch us. And the Bulls, Luol was a great stopper, but when Melo was going on, there wasn't really anyone who could stop him. You could throw, Dennis Rodman on him, and he's still probably going for 30 on his best days. So I just thought, like, Melo in this game, just his jump shot when it's on, is there a guy who, when he's on, is more entertaining to watch than Carmelo Anthony?
I think very few. Just because, I guess the argument's there for James Harden just because, how crafty he is. But Melo, it feels like almost quiet. Like he's not the star. Essentially, like when I was watching this game, I mean, he was hitting everything, but most of his shots were like not awful shots. He wasn't just shooting for fun. He was shooting because he knew it was going in. I mean, he shot more than 50% in this game.
His touch is so feathery. Like, all the adjectives you would use to describe the way he shoots, I mean, just go watch, like, the, whatever, I don't remember what game that was, but the game in the Olympics in 2012 where they played the team and they doubled their score. That game, Melo just shot the ball. I think he had 30, made however many threes, and when the shots went in, I don't think the net moved. Like, that's kind of smooth that we're talking.
He had a lot of jump shots like that in this game. Like, I forgot. It made me remember how much I love Melo's jumper. Because, like, man, just seeing him torch people, because that's what he torched the Bulls. And the Bulls are good defensively this year. Like, this year that this game was played, And just to see him go off, like, it makes you remember why he's considered one of the best scorers of all time.
And it's like, if you just even go through the Bulls' defense, Luol Deng, one of the best wing defenders in the league at that time. Joakim Noah, one of the best rim protectors in the league at that time. Taj Gibson, one of the best defenders in the league at that time. You had 3 guys fully capable of guarding him. And I think part of Luol's problem towards the end, we'll get just one mind-blowing stat, is that he played 49 minutes in this game. He played so many minutes. And I don't blame Tibbs. I believe Tibbs ruined his career, but we can get into that later. But I think just Luol was probably tired towards the end of the game. If you notice, Taj picked him up on that last on the game-winning 3. Yeah,
it was Luol Deng's like a really good defender at this time, and just to see no one had an answer for him this game. And this isn't the only Melo game where I think no one had an answer for him. I think this is just my favorite one because they obviously beat arguably one of the best teams in the league at this point. And just to see that last shot, whenever, because it's on social media like every other day, it feels like, but just to see it brings joy to my heart.
And it brings absolute dread because Melo, like what we were saying, he's so good, and you just knew he was on that. To me, there aren't a whole lot of guys on the Kobe level where you see the ball going up and you're terrified if you're an opposing fan. Carmelo Anthony was on the Kobe level where you see the ball go up and you're like, oh my goodness, this is going in. I knew the second he shot both of those shots, the first time I was watching, these are going in. He's making those. And there's the part of the call. I'm going to put both of the announcing calls at the beginning of the podcast. But there's a part of the call where Mike Breen's like, should the Bulls foul? And Jeff Van Gundy's like, no. And the Bulls are up 3. And Melo hits the 3 right after Jeff Van Gundy says it. And it's just like kind of poetic justice because you just knew he was going to make the 3 after Jeff said that.
It was great to see, Melo, because this is, I feel like, prime Melo, and to see him hit shots, because people always question, mostly just because he doesn't have a ring. Oh, can he really do it? Is he really a winner? Melo's a winner in this game.
One of my contentions is, so I want to hear, as a tried and true Knicks fan who watched a lot of Melo over the years, if you stuck him with the 2011 Mavericks and you forced him, you say you have to play 4 or we're trading you, would you think that they win the title?
I want to say yes so bad, but if you wouldn't have included you have to play the 4 or we're trading you, I still just don't think he liked playing 4. Because I think if they would have played Melo at the 4 instead of, the season they won 50 games, it's the next season after this. If this is going to sound bad, if they would have benched Amari and just played Melo at the 4 and played Shumpert and J.R. Smith, I think they're better. Maybe they don't lose to the Pacers in the first round because even though Melo is, I think he wants to win at his core, he can't get over his hubris that, hey, I'm going to do this.
I mean, you can't really blame him. I mean, he's one of the – I mean, I don't care. He's in my 50 best players ever. He might be 50, but I think he's one of the best players of all time, so I don't blame him for having the hubris, but the hubris is what was going to lead him to never winning the title for me.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I knew that at the time, too. 7th grade Jacob thought, this is cool, and I like watching the Knicks win all the time, but I don't think we can win one with Melo. I thought everyone else on that team, though, I mean, we see it. Tyson Chandler in this game was a team player, 8 points and 16 rebounds. Like, everyone else was doing what they need to. I agree, though. He is one of the best players of all time, and he has the, hey, I can do this. This is me. I got to do it. But it didn't work out, I don't think it ever would have unless we got him to play 4.
And I think the biggest mistake of his career, and I mean, he might not view it as a mistake because, he's going to be able to, his family's not going to be without for generations because he stayed with the Knicks. But I think if he went to Chicago in the summer of 2014, because that Bulls team in 2014 wasn't bad. It was really good, actually. And if they'd had Melo instead of Mirotic, I mean, you don't have to be an NBA expert to know that that's an upgrade. Even 2014-15 Melo, that's an upgrade. And they give the Cavs they probably play the Cavs in the conference finals instead, and they give them a run for their money. And I think I can't tell Melo what to do with his life. But I think if he had gone to the Bulls, he'd probably have a title by now.
I would probably agree. I think deep down that's got to be a regret. Seeing I want to win, this is what I have to do for it. But I think, thankfully, his game is could translate into the ultimate old man game where, hey, I'm just going to sit here and shoot jump shots. Feed it to me. He'll win one somewhere, even if it's, as some schmo coming off the bench.
Well, and he didn't start even doing, we're talking about his hubris. He didn't even start doing that till this season. And even then, he's still starting for the Trailblazers. If he was willing to come off the bench, I think he's one of the best shooters of all time. If he was willing to come off the bench somewhere, there's no doubt in my mind that he could make an impact for a contender.
Yeah, even just as a plug and play guy, hey, I'm going to come in, shoot a couple jumpers. If I'm cold, take me out. If I'm hot, keep me in.
It's so watching Melo this year with the Blazers, he was, if you expected him to be anything but not good on defense, then you're naive. But he was actually playing, so I'm going to pull up his percentages. He was shooting 37% from 3 on 4 attempts a game. And that's not great, but it's not bad. And he was playing 32 minutes a game, which is more than I expected. But still, he was playing well this year. And I wish he would take a role player role. And that's what he was finally doing. But he's 35. He's not going to probably have very many more of those opportunities left.
Yeah, but I think for him, why not join a team that's already offensively loaded? Why not join the Mavericks? After this season, take a minimum deal, no state income tax in Dallas, so you get to keep all that money, and just join the Mavericks, play with Luka and Kristaps, just sit in the corner and chuck up threes.
My heart just stopped. I would like to see him somewhere because what the Pacers need this season is they need more shot creation. They could have used more, actually, no, I take that back. The Pacers probably wouldn't have used Melo that well. But I think, just stick him somewhere where you need, just another guy who can finish shots for you. That's where he'd fit perfectly. And I think my money would be on the Blazers bringing him back because the Blazers always wanted him. And Terry Stotts is a good coach, and he could probably use him right. But I just want Melo in a situation where he'll thrive because Melo is one of my probably 5 favorite players ever.
Yeah, he's definitely one of mine. I think he would be good on the Jazz because I think even if he comes off the bench, that Jazz team could always use some more weapons. They're notorious for playing just hard defense. And to just have someone come in and make a couple shots to give Donovan Mitchell a break, I think he'd really fit in.
That's intriguing because they love guys that can shoot like him, and I mean that'd basically be like having two Bogdanoviches on your team, except one that's a little worse. Then you'd have Bojan Bogdanovic, then you'd have another one, which I mean wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have enough shooting and you'd have enough offensive weapons to make a difference because that makes the Jazz. That's got to make them have one of the best benches if they add Melo to it.
I'm glad he finally accepted his place because a league without Melo just isn't as fun. Like, where he does where he'll either catch the ball on the left block, face up, or he'll turn over his shoulder for the fadeaway. Melo's fadeaways are, I contend, some of the prettiest shots in the NBA.
Yeah, some of his jump shots, I feel like every time he shoots a jump shot, it's going in.
Oh, me too.
Like his mid-range game, that's what I'm saying. Like his old man game could be great. Just him shooting jump shots. If
he was more comfortable in his own skin, he could have been Paul Pierce.
I think a better version of Paul Pierce, because I think he has a lot better footwork than Paul Pierce. Because if you look in this game even, I mean, this is obviously young Melo, but his footwork is just unreal. And then some of the Blazers game, it's aged well. Like, you still don't know what he's going to do.
I do think the one edge that Paul Pierce did have on Melo is that he was confident in his success since he did have a championship. But even then, I still think there's no reason that Melo shouldn't be, calling game series against, what Paul Pierce did when he was with the Wizards, where he banked in the shot to beat the Raptors. That was, why can't Melo do that?
Yeah, even for just Melo to get – I mean, obviously we could have seen this with the Blazers, just for him to get back, because when's the last time Melo was on a winning team, Because it's 2013. Like, after that, the Knicks just went way downhill. And, yeah, that was rough to see such a great player on such a bad roster. But,
the last time he finished the season with a good team was 2018. And his plus minus in games 3 through 6 of the first round series against the Jazz combined was, this is the order of his plus minus. Game 3, minus 20. Game 4, minus 18. Game 5, not so bad, minus 6. Game 6, minus 19. So,
yeah, I think that's just because, we've been talking about it. He just couldn't accept his role. Because he was third fiddle, And
that was
I think that wasn't a good team. Probably not a great example to see if Melo can do it. But
probably
because it had a lot of weird personalities on it too. I think that's why he kind of fits in on the Blazers. He's probably like the locker room talk guy. Because I feel like Dame and CJ are more quiet. And he can come in there and kind of be in charge.
I don't think there's a whole lot of more intriguing personalities in the league than Carmelo Anthony. Do you?
I don't think so. And I think he would also be nice if you put him on a young team. He's been in every aspect of the league, obviously except a championship. But, he's been on bad teams. He knows how to handle that mentally. He's been on great ones. He's been lowest to lows and sadly not highest to highs, but I think he could really – pretty close. I think he could be like a great teacher for young guys,
I want to see him on the Hawks.
Okay. I could see that.
Like, think about it. He could gun to his heart's content. Because they don't have a second option there. He would be him being the second option now isn't like ideal unless you're a team like the Hawks. and where they need somebody who can finish the plays, even if he shoots what he's shooting in Portland this year, which is 43%, they still need a guy who can make 43% of his shots and put in 15 points. So I want him on a team like that, because they have Vince Carter, but Vince Carter, I mean, the last time Vince Carter was a great player in the NBA, Trae Young was like in elementary school.
That's kind of wild to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of those guys on the Hawks weren't born before Vince was drafted.
I didn't know that. Like, I don't know. And Melo is like our generation's great scorer. I mean, other than Kobe, but to have him on what?
Kobe wasn't our generation, though.
Yeah, but I mean, he's close. He's pretty close. Like prime Kobe was. He was still like why I was I was watching basketball. I've seen prime Kobe.
Right.
But Melo, we saw essentially him start in a way, and finish his career. I mean, it's not over yet, but we've seen almost all of his career, and we've seen all of his great moments. And I think guys in the league who are younger really look up to Melo. It's kind of like wow, I used to watch you on TV. I'm sure it's just shocking,
Definitely. I like Trae Young. I mean, like I said, last time Vince Carter was great was in New Jersey, probably. And the last time Vince Carter played in New Jersey was the 2007-8 season, if I'm not mistaken. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Or I think it's 2008-9. But still, that's a long time ago. Trae Young was born in like 98, 99. That range. That's like, you're not going to impress these kids by like, oh yeah, I was great all the way back in 2009. Yeah, you're still in the league. So they're not going to say he sucks now because he's Vince Carter. And they've seen the dunk contest highlights. But it's like, seeing a guy like Melo, I feel like would, because he's a good teammate. I don't, like, just from what I see on the court, when he's engaged, he's a really good teammate. He passes the ball well. He plays good defense. Like this game, he had a couple nice assists.
Yeah, and I don't think you ever hear really people complain that, oh, Melo's such a douchebag in the locker room.
Right.
Everyone says, like, just from Kristaps being in New York, I think he hated being in New York. You hear nothing but good things from him about Melo. Like, Melo is one of his favorite parts about playing for the Knicks. So, I mean, he'd be a good locker room guy at the least.
We could probably talk all day about Carmelo Anthony, but we should probably get some talking about the Bulls, because this game was... We talked about how good the Knicks defense was, but the Bulls shot really bad from the field.
Yeah, I don't think it helped that this is one of the first games. I kind of mentioned it earlier. Derrick Rose coming back. I don't think they were really ready to gel together right away. And I think that's why they played a lot better in the second half. They played, I think, a lot better than in the first. The first quarter was awful for the Bulls, but it picked up shortly after that.
Like, looking at the game through today's lens, it's like the spacing was absolutely atrocious for the Bulls, playing Boozer and Joakim at the same time. The Knicks, even though they were playing Landry Fields, still had better spacing than the Bulls did.
Yeah, it was kind of weird to see. The Knicks played like a pretty modern game of basketball. Playing Melo at the 4, they essentially played like a big version of small ball because, they still had Tyson Chandler. But I was going to say Landry Fields played a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know why. Like, I just never saw it with him. But he played a lot in this game.
See, 28 minutes, which, I mean, minutes breakdown for the Knicks. Carmelo Anthony, 46 minutes. Iman Shumpert, 45. Tyson Chandler, 43. Basically 44. Landry Fields, 28.5. Baron Davis, 21. Baron Davis, not great in this game. J.R. Smith.
No, bad.
26. Steve Novak, 22. Jared Jeffries 11, Tony Douglas 9 minutes.
Yeah, Knicks were really grasping at straws with point guard this season.
Tony Douglas, not good in this game either.
No, Steve Novak was awful too. Didn't even have a point.
I mean, I feel like the Knicks should have played played Steve Novak more. I feel like Steve Novak, if he was in today's NBA, would be like a 30-minute a game guy.
I agree. Just for him, because he was such a silky shooter.
And the Knicks' success the next season kind of was attributable to him.
Yeah. Because this Knicks team, offense-wise, like you could still tell there's a lot of D'Antoni in there. They had a lot of shooting, a lot of fluid basketball. And even though like their offense really didn't click all the time, when it clicked, it was good. I don't think that's really a coaching fault. I just think it's the players they had weren't the greatest offensive players.
Oh, it's like you said, Landry Fields got a lot of burn. Landry Fields was never known as an offensive specialist. And they were really grasping at straws since Jeremy Lin and Amari Stoudemire were both out in this game. And so they had to play Jared Jeffries a lot, who also really didn't deserve them.
I don't know. I don't know if this is bad, but I kind of forgot Jared Jeffries played on this team. You know, I was just so used to remembering Amari and Tyson Chandler. I forgot he existed.
Well, it's like, and then you look at the minutes totals, and it's like, you know, there's 53 minutes in an overtime game. Tyson Chandler played 44 of them. So that means the 9 minutes were, do you want to guess Jared Jeffries plus minus? It's not good.
Minus 15.
You're close. Minus 13.
Yeah, he's a liability in this game. He played awful.
I mean, you won't be surprised who had the best plus minus on the Knicks.
I'm guessing Tyson Chandler.
Mm-hmm. And I think the Knicks suffered from a lack of depth this year that they made up for by signing just really old guys the next year.
Yeah. They did sign a lot of those. That's part of their history, signing guys who probably don't need to be in the league anymore.
But the old guys were good for them the next year.
Yeah.
It was good. Rasheed Wallace was good. You know, that's the one time it actually worked for them, surprisingly.
Yeah. Looking at this roster, I mean, Micah Bibby is on this roster. You know, like.
That's one thing I wanted to go over with you. Okay, the Knicks guys who were active but did not play. Bill Walker. Favorite Bill Walker memory?
I don't have one.
Jerome Jordan.
Oh my gosh. There is none. Like, these guys should have been out of the league years ago.
Wait, I saved the best one for last because you already brought up Mike Bibby. Josh Harrelson.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even... That name, I feel like I know these odd Knicks names. Like, that one doesn't even ring a bell. Like, how do I remember Alexei Shved over him?
Well, Alexei Shved was the guy who hit the shot over the backboard, right? So, you know, he has something memorable about him.
Yeah, but man, he was awful. I think he started for the Knicks one season.
Josh Harrelson. I was looking through that. I wanted to surprise you with the list of inactives because Jerome Jordan, Bill Walker, and Josh Harrelson. That's a hell of a scrub group right there.
Yeah, that's a crew.
Those guys are good. Those guys are way better than I'll ever be. But compared to the guys that were on the floor, I would play Tony Douglas 11 times out of 10 over most of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not even close. Tony Douglas, he probably, if you put him in today's NBA, he'd probably be good. But just like in 2012, where it was a lot harder for those kind of really small guys to succeed.
Yeah, I just don't think he fit into the league. Like, you get that sometimes where good basketball player, just the wrong generation.
It's actually, we're going to get into that later because it's a lot of crossroads of the NBA in 2012. But I want to go through the Bulls minutes because the Bulls minutes are staggeringly insane. So, like I said earlier, Luol Deng, 49 minutes. It was 49 minutes and 40 seconds. So he really sat for just about 3 minutes of this whole game.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that happening in this league. Like right now, I think if any player got close to 45 and they weren't playing well, they'd throw a fit.
And it's like this game, Lou Wall shot 4 for 16. He went 0 for 5 from 3. Now he rebounded. He had 5 offensive boards. He was hustling real after it. Like he had really bad stats and he still had +2 for the game. So like he wasn't a net negative by any means. It's just when you play almost 50 minutes, it's no wonder you shoot 4 for 16 from the field. I only remember him having one break, and that's at the beginning of the second quarter. That means he's like sat at the end of the third quarter. Fun fact, Jimmy Butler played 22 seconds in this game.
Wow. That is people forget, I think, when you think of Jimmy Butler, he went 30th. Like, he wasn't that good when he was coming out of college. Like, I didn't think he was going to be good, but I guess it's like a lot about work ethic, and I think he has one of the best at work ethics in the league.
And I did a podcast with my friend Dylan Hughes, with our friend Dylan Hughes, the other day, and we were talking. It's like Jimmy Butler is like one of the only guys that we actually know in the NBA. Everyone else has like a polished personality, and Jimmy's is polished to an extent, but it's like his is who he is. He's not fake.
Yeah, I think he's almost real to a fault, but that's just because everyone else is so, I got to hold this. This is me pretending to be what I actually am, and that's why Jimmy's kind of a culture shock sometimes.
That's why I think he didn't work in Philadelphia, because I don't think, or Minnesota, because I don't think those guys, when you're a lottery pick like that, and then I understand why Jimmy Butler is the way that he is. If you're the 30th pick who turns yourself into a top 10 player in the NBA, then by all means, you have every right to talk as much shit as you want.
Yeah, he's kind of like a Tom Brady, not skill-wise, obviously, but just the way they carry themselves. We're like, listen, I wasn't even supposed to be here. If you screwed up and you're supposed to be one of the best, why?
Right.
He's not a guy that like, oh, you're the first round pick, let me treat you like a god. No, he's not like that. If you play well, he'll like you. If you don't play well, he won't like you. And I think that's why he fits so well with like Miami's mentality.
If he played this game, I think I would have thrown him on Melo, but also he wasn't as strong then as he is now. Like I had to look to see when he was in the game, because you can check the game logs and they have when the guys came in the game, and he was in at the end of the third quarter. He wasn't as like built as he is now, but even then, I would have tried Melo.
He was kind of skinny coming out of college, and this is his rookie season, isn't it?
Yeah, this was his rookie year. He was drafted the 30th pick. I remember.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think anyone knew I don't think anyone really thought coming out of college he was going to play right away. It wasn't like Amon Shumpert, where Amon Shumpert like had an NBA body, and I think that's just sometimes with players, you got to give them time.
And it's like guys like Amon Shumpert, they can peak out of college like their rookie seasons because they're just ready. And then the rest of their rookie class catches up to them, and you're like, oh, wait, these guys aren't actually that good. They're just...
Yeah, that happens all the time, too.
Yeah. I mean,
you just get an immature bunch.
And it's like, it looked like it was on its way to happening with Jason Tatum, but then Jason Tatum actually took a leap. But most of those guys that just come in and are good out of college don't get much better. They don't like... Malcolm Brogdon's like the exception to me.
Yeah. Who won Rookie of the Year? I want to say he played on the Sixers. He was a late round pick. Yeah. He was one of those guys where like he came out of the league like firing, and we're like, wow, he's great. He might be the real deal. Like, what if he carries the legacy of the next great player, and then he's wiped off the face of the earth?
Another guy, Tyreke Evans, Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I thought Tyreke Evans was going to be better though.
Well, he kind of peaked his first year out of college, and then the rest of his career, I mean, he was kind of hurt and now he's dealing with a drug suspension. I hope he gets his life back together, because that was kind of unfortunate coming off of it wasn't a big contract with the Pacers, but the Pacers gave him a pretty sizable contract, and then he got suspended for drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
But I hope he gets his life back on track, because I think he could still contribute to a team. I just don't know what his he'll never be a star.
No. I think his role on the Pacers is best case scenario.
So we're going to get back to the Bulls minutes, because I don't know how we got there from Luol Deng. But I think – so Derrick Rose played 39 minutes this game. He shot 8 for 26. Got to the free throw line 12 times, but the Knicks held him to 4 assists. And like I said earlier, 8 turnovers. What was your biggest thing from watching Derrick Rose this game?
It made me remember how much I loved watching Derrick Rose. Because even though, you said his assists were kind of quiet and he didn't shoot great, he is a supreme athlete. Seeing him, he's almost unguardable at some points, just because of how quick he has. I talked a little bit about how Iman Shumpert had a pretty quick first step. It was nothing compared to Derrick Rose's.
Derrick Rose we can both agree, he was really bad this game. And yet, when it came down to it, you were still scared. The Knicks were still terrified of him, because he's such an explosive player. And could you imagine? So I kind of had this lineup in mind. Tell me if you think this would have been a bad lineup for the Bulls. They wouldn't have played it because it was 2012. But I think they should have tried to roll out D. Rose, Rip Hamilton, Korver, Deng, Noah.
Yeah, I think that would have been good. I totally forgot Kyle Korver was on this team. He didn't play good in this game. I mean, he did have 7 rebounds. I'm looking at the box score now, but this team could have really been before its era, but they played Carlos Boozer, Luol Deng, Omar Asik is on this team.
Omar Asik.
Taj Gibson, they are loaded with big guys. And it's kind of weird to see, just in 8 years, what the league looks like now.
Totally. I mean, Boozer played 35 minutes. For whatever reason, I never really found out why Joakim only played 27 minutes. I mean, he played the whole overtime, which was good. I mean, Joakim only had 1 foul for the game. So it's not like he was a foul-out risk. He just didn't play a lot. And I don't think he played at all in the fourth quarter. And if he did, he played at just the beginning. And then he played the whole overtime. I don't know if he had some kind of injury or something, but it was weird. And then Rip Hamilton played 19 minutes. Korver played 30 minutes. Taj played 28. We're going to talk about Taj in a second. CJ Watson played 14. Ronnie Brewer, blast from the past, 14. Omar Asik played 9 minutes.
Forgot Omar Asik was on this team too. I just always remembered him being on the Pelicans for some reason.
Oh yeah, he was part of the bench mob with so this is how I'll remember. We're going to talk about what happened to Derrick Rose later, obviously. But due to unforeseen circumstances, Omar Asik and CJ Watson were in with the game on the line against the Sixers in the first round this year. And CJ Watson, and I believe the Bulls were up because the Sixers were intentionally fouling. And for some reason, I don't know why, CJ Watson decides it's a great idea to pass it to Omar Asik. Omar Asik's career free throw percentage is 55%. You can guess what happened next. He missed both free throws. And so that's unfortunate. It's not Omar Asik's fault. He's a fine center. But he just wasn't – he's not a starter to me.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know. I don't really remember him being drafted, honestly. But I knew right away, you have a bunch of those guys, if you look back, at older drafts that are just every once in a while you see someone and you're like, I don't know who that is, but they're tall, and that's why they were drafted. That happens all the time. And I mean, it still happens today, but I think less so.
He was actually a good defensive center, but that doesn't really matter much because those guys like him aren't getting drafted anymore anyway. They're not going to draft you're not going to draft a Mason Plumlee in the first round anymore, even though Mason Plumlee's good. You're not going to get that guy in the first round, draft that guy in the lottery. And I think Omer Ashik was a second round pick even. It's just like guys like him, they just don't exist anymore.
Yeah, he's like in this game, he kind of reminded me of like Isaac Haas off Purdue. Like he was slow, but he's just really tall. Like he's just there to be really tall. You know, and that happens a lot in these older drafts. You know, if this was 20 years ago, Omar's getting a lot, you know, but it's just we can kind of see what's going to happen in the NBA in this game just by the rosters. Like we see we're starting to go away from the traditional big man.
I want to talk about Taj Gibson for a little bit because he played out of his mind in this game. He was really good. He had 4 blocks, 11 points, and it was 5 of 8 shooting. He only had 3 rebounds, but still, he was on the perimeter most of this game. And I think this is my theory about Taj Gibson. Tell me if you agree or disagree. I think not only would he be more valuable in today's game, but he'd have learned how to shoot a mid-range or a three-pointer while he was in like college or before he got to the NBA, and he'd have been a knockdown three-point shooter.
Yeah, I think if Taj Gibson, like he has the same mentality that he had like at this time, except he was coming through the league 10 years later, I think we see him as like, wow, this guy has a shot to be great. You know, because if he learned how to shoot, like you said in college, like he could really do something because he's a good rebounder. I mean, this game didn't really, show it, but in the grand scheme of things, he's a great rebounder. And if he was playing up, like playing pick and pop, sorry, just had a little. If he was playing the pick and pop, like he could really make a difference on great teams. Like I think he'd be a lottery pick coming out if you just adjusted a few things.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of like, I mean, Thaddeus Young is older, but like if he was around now, he'd have been used more like how the Pacers used Thaddeus Young a couple of years ago when he was just like their defensive stopper. And like, you know, even if he wasn't great on offense, he still would have been good enough on defense. I think Taj would have been perfectly suited for today's NBA. And I think actually I'm going to go ahead and transition to my little game that I've created. The players born too soon, too late, or just the right time. So I'm going to adjust some of this on the fly. But we're going to go first with Landry Fields.
I'm going to say he was born too soon just because or too late. He is the ultimate driving shooting guard. And if he would have been born before the three-point shot was created, because he's pretty crafty. We saw a couple times this game. He's pretty crafty driving in. You know, I think he's definitely born too late.
Okay. And we already touched on Omer Ashik, but I think we both agree, too late?
Yeah, absolutely.
But Tyson Chandler.
Perfect. I think this is the perfect era for Tyson Chandler because we're getting ready to see the evolution of the athletic big man. And, I mean, Tyson Chandler never really learned how to shoot, but I don't think it was really a problem because at this time you have big men like DeAndre Jordan who we're just here to block shots, get rebounds, and dunk. And Tyson Chandler fit right in.
And I personally think he was perfect for the time and also born too soon. Because could you imagine if he was playing now? Like if it was him on those Rockets teams instead of Clint Capella?
Yeah, because he's a lot stronger and he has better footwork than Clint Capella.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think he's a max contract guy now, but this was a really good era for him still.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he was the second most valuable player on a finals team.
Yeah.
Because you could say what you want. I'd probably go on that Mavericks team. It was Dirk 1, Chandler 2, Marion 3. And I think he somehow was perfect for back then and even better now. So I don't know how that makes sense, but you and I both agree that it makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Next guy I have, Steve Novak.
Too late. Man, he would have been a sharp shooter. He is the Joe Ingles. He's just Joe Ingles. You know? he'd play the same amount. They're like the same guy. They just have great jump shots. You know, Steve Novak's a $10 million, $15 million guy in this league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no reason Steve Novak couldn't do what Bertans is doing over there in Washington.
Yeah. I think he'd do it better, too, because Steve Novak's a way better shooter.
Okay, got my next one for you. J.R. Smith.
Just right, probably. Just because I think now his personality, I think, would piss a lot of people off. I don't think it would really gel with the league. That was the craziness of the mid-2000s. Like, no one really knew what was going on. And now I think the NBA is, like, more white-collar. Like, everyone's going to be professional. This is a business, you know? And JR, I don't think ever really saw his career as that. He was just there to have fun and shoot.
Okay. Now, this is kind of I'm changing it up a little bit, but of the two superstars in this game, we agree that there are two superstars in this game, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, of the two superstars, who benefits more with the extra spacing of today's NBA? Carmelo, Derrick Rose.
I'm going to say Melo, even though I think the argument's definitely there for Derrick Rose. If Derrick Rose was he's a good passer, but if he was a better passer, it would be him no contest. But if we had Melo and everyone was spread out and they said, Melo, take it to the top of key, you're going for it, just shoot. Just get your way to the basket. Like, we see a new evolved version of Melo where he's scoring even more than he already did, I think, because no one's there getting in his way. Who's blocking Melo's shots if no one's playing down low?
It's true.
And Melo's an ultimate zone breaker guy. Just send him to the top of the key.
Yeah, we know how much teams love to play zone now. And
Yeah, Melo high post would be disgusting.
see, hold on. I'm going to check out his mid-range numbers for that year because his mid-range shooting percentage is insane. Like, let's see. For 2011-12, he shot on mid-range shots. He shot 180 for 491. If he had extra space, could probably put another 20 of those shots.
Yeah, if not more, you know, because if he's playing one-on-one, there are a few guys I trust more, like other than like Jordan and LeBron and Kobe, and one-on-one than Melo. You know, if I want people playing one-on-one for my life, Melo's up there.
Yeah, Melo's top 5 for me playing for my life. I'd probably, off the top of my head, probably go MJ, Kobe. Melo third, probably.
Yeah, he's got to be up there just because of how crafty he is. He's an ultimate one-on-one. Let's play pickup.
You know what Melo shot the next year from mid-range?
What?
283 for 643 for 44% from mid-range. It's insanity.
Yeah, that's really good.
And I think
that's the growth of the NBA too, because the Knicks even played a more spread out game that year.
And I think that like kind of illustrates what you're saying, where it's like with the extra space, Melo is just a monster. Like I know he led the league in scoring that year. He led the league in scoring, and he scored 28.7 points per game in the 2012-13 season. He led the Knicks to the 3 seed. I think if you put him in today's NBA with all the inflated stats, because a lot of these guys that are getting 30 now, I don't feel like they're actually 30-point per game scorers.
Yeah.
No offense. But it's like all the stats are inflated. I don't think Trae Young isn't getting 30 10 years ago.
No. I also think if Melo came in at a little bit later, his 3-point shot is much more polished. Like, he's already a good 3-point shooter, but he can his 3-point shot is, listen, I can shoot fadeaway threes, you know, because that's what I grew up, like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be able to obviously still shoot the mid-range jumper, but I'm going to work on getting people at the 3-point line in my face.
And the game-winning 3, that was a deep 3.
Yeah. That's a little bit of a 3 before its era. Not many people are pulling up. Not many people are pulling that, you know?
He was pulling the second three to the game winner. He pulls around the hash mark. Like, Taj, like, you could look at that and say, oh, why didn't Taj come out further? Why would have Taj came out further? People weren't, like, Steph Curry was shooting threes like that, but not often.
No one really had that type of range at this point.
This was before Steph Curry, the year after, started bombing threes. I think that was the year where he finally took over 7 a game. But before then, he wasn't taking more than 5 a game. So it's not like Steph Curry had changed the NBA yet. This was 2012-13 was the year that he did that. So Melo pulling from that deep, yeah, I don't blame Taj. Taj is a power forward anyway. Like, I don't blame him for not coming out that deep. But now where do you think, like, Melo's dribbling up the court? Where do you think Melo gets picked up now?
If he, I mean, it's got to be almost as soon as he crosses half court.
I was thinking the logo.
Yeah, because especially if he's this age and it's this generation, but Melo's still athletic, like, you got to pick him up as soon as you can. And even then, like, you just know he's going to drive around you.
The game winner was pure.
One of the best looking shots. Melo has a great looking jump shot. It's like so fluid. It's not very, you know, as we usually think of a jump shot. You know, like Ray Allen's doesn't really look like a good looking jump shot, but it's just good looking because he makes it look good. I feel like that's kind of how Melo's is.
Right. Yeah, Melo's is kind of weird because he has the thing with, like, where when he extends, he somehow is, it looks like he's all the way up on his tippy toes. It looks like he's doing ballet in the air when he shoots the jumper. But it's just it's so pretty, and he just makes it work. I don't think
he has a trademark on that jumper because I don't think anyone else, like I said, just like Ray Allen's, like, I'm not comparing Melo to the shooter that Ray Allen is, but I'm just saying, like, their jump shots are specifically theirs.
I personally think Melo is one of the best shooters of all time. I don't care what the percentages say. He took tougher shots. Like, can we both agree that the reason why we consider Steph Curry one of the best shooters ever is that he takes really tough shots and makes a lot of them?
Yeah. That's how Melo is. That's how Melo was.
Exactly. He was, like, in the mid-rangers he takes, because there's a difference, right? Like we've been saying this whole podcast, Luol Deng is an incredible defender. He's absolutely amazing, and there was nothing he could do. Melo was eating him for lunch, and that's because his mid-range shot is so pure. And just, like, looking at the percentages, he didn't shoot well from mid-range in the 11-12 season. That's fine. In the years after, so 12-13, 44%, 13-14, 44%, 14-15, 43, 15-16, 44, 16-17, 45. That's what he shot 5 years in a row, where he was getting all the pressure on him because he was the best player on either a great team or a really trash team, which is equal amounts of pressure that you're going to be guarded by the defense because you're Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah. Melo as a shooter, just people forget how consistent he was.
He's like, we could probably spend this whole podcast just talking about Melo, how ridiculously, because his game is diverse too. He's not like a one-trick pony. He has multiple tricks in his bag, and it just was like, it was cool to see him bust out all the stops. Now the Bulls did give him some open shots. Like, there was 1-3 in the first quarter they gave up. There was, like, no one within. The closest guy was at the elbow, and he was on the wing.
Yeah.
But, like, that was probably the most open he got all night.
Yeah, I mean, this game really stuck out as, I don't think I knew it back then. I don't know how I could have, but this is like kind of the start of a new generation. Like, why wouldn't I just shoot instead of driving in? You know, because I feel like a lot of Melo's points are just jump shots. You know, we start to see, well, I'm just going to shoot jump shots, which it's working.
I mean, you have to be able to finish at the rim. And after Melo was like 24, his at the rim numbers aren't really pretty, but also he got more attention going towards the rim. Like the season where he made the conference, where they made the conference finals in Denver, he shot 56% at the rim. That's not good for a guy who took as many rim shots as he did, but he still, he took 443 of them, and he probably drew a lot of fouls.
Yeah. Speaking of guys who shoot bad at the rim, just a little side note here, RJ Barrett, one of the worst shooters in the restricted area in the NBA.
Check it out. I'm sure your boy Frank isn't much better, but
He is a perfect human being, and no one insults Frank Tilakina.
RJ Barrett, 164 for 306. Very bad.
Yeah, not great. Following in Melo's footsteps. If only he was as good as Melo will be.
Can you think of anything else we need to discuss from this game?
I think we've covered a lot of it. It's a good game.
Okay, well
it's really rewatchable.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's like Jacob said, it's like kind of a vision. Would you say it's kind of old against new?
Yeah, it is. Because this Knicks team offensively, we've talked about it a ton, kind of revolutionary.
Definitely. And the team, it's like the Knicks offense, they spread out. I mean, Landry Fields and Amon Shumpert were not sharpshooters. Amon Shumpert in this game shot 2 for 8 from 3, and he took probably one of the most amount of threes in the team. But the Knicks, they took a lot of threes. And the thing about, you don't have to make a lot of threes, but if you're willing to take them, you're going to end up being guarded like you can make them in the regular season. In the playoffs, it's a little bit of a different story. But can you guess how many three-pointers the Knicks attempted in this game?
I have no idea.
Under 26.
I'll take the under.
Nope. Over.
Oh, man.
The over, they shot 34 threes in this game. They shot 8 for 34. Now, part of that's dragged down by our boy JR.
Yeah.
Who shot 2 for 11 from 3.
Ugh.
But the Bulls, I'll give you the same over-under for the Bulls.
I'm hammering the under.
22.
Yeah.
7 for 22. Korver took 6. D Rose was 4 for 8. So a little bit of an anomaly from him when he was like a 33% three-point shooter. But Luol was 0 for 5. Rip Hamilton, who was brought in to be the sharpshooter, was 0 for 2, which, don't get me started on the Rip Hamilton signing. We should have just not signed him and started Korver. But what do I know? I'm just a fan. I'm so glad they fired Garpax. This is the perfect time to talk about it. I'm just gonna clear out an ISO for myself. I don't care. Garpax, they were good from like 2004 till 2012. When they signed Rip Hamilton, I guess that's 2011. So the last good thing they did was draft Jimmy Butler. Do you know the Doug McDermott trade?
Yeah. Dougie McBuckets, former Knick.
Doug McDermott. They traded. Do you know who the draft picks the Bulls traded for him were?
Who?
It was Gary Harris and Yusuf Nurkic.
Oh.
Yeah. The center of the Nuggets didn't want to keep. We could have had him. He could have been the successor to Joakim Noah. You know what else we did? We traded for Cameron Payne. We traded Taj Gibson for Cameron Payne and a bunch of other guys I really want to forget about. We traded away a first-round pick in the Jimmy Butler trade. I mean, the Wolves blew that pick because they're terrible. They're a terrible organization too, but still, it's infuriating because we just kicked away a first-round pick. I mean, I quit the Bulls, and now I'm excited to finally come back and be a fan because, I despise the Bulls now.
Yeah. I just have a little you talked a little bit about how awful the Timberwolves are. Would you rather take the Timberwolves, like their management, be their GM, or the Knicks?
It's tough. So probably the Knicks, just because it's a better chance in the next 5 years I end up with Karl Anthony Towns than the Timberwolves do.
True.
If you catch what I'm saying.
Yeah. And you have Frank Ntilikina on the Knicks.
Well, and it's like, this is the thing about the Knicks. Dolan sucks, right? We can both agree on that.
Yes.
But you have an unlimited checkbook.
Correct.
You kind of have free reign to do whatever you want. If he had hired competent people, we wouldn't be hearing about James Dolan. He was a lot worse in the 2000s than he has been in the 2010s. But because he sticks to the wrong people, then he's gotten a deservedly worse rap.
Yeah, I just hope, we can get someone in there who knows what they're doing. Because I feel like he kind of will hand the keys over, basketball operations-wise, to pretty much anyone. But the first time, let's just hope someone's competent.
I mean, the Timberwolves alienated their best player in franchise history, so
yeah,
I don't think they can keep Towns. I think Towns is going to be the next. I've said this before. I think Towns is going to be the next Anthony Davis candidate, where he demands a trade because the team is so incompetent. And I think New York is kind of a logical destination, just because they need a star, and B, he's like just the perfect big man to build around.
As long as they don't give up Frank Ntilikina, I'll do it.
I don't think. I mean, listen, the Wolves are already paying D'Angelo Russell $100 million for the next 3 years, so I don't see why they would need him.
Well, he's a perfect player. Yeah, they don't want to be giving max contracts out anymore. Because that's what Frank's getting.
I like the Wolves. They did a good trade when they when they hopped in that 4-team trade with the Rockets and the Nuggets and who else? The Hawks were in that trade.
Yeah, that was a good trade.
I mean, Malik Beasley and Juancho Hernan-Gomez, they were at the end of the shrift. They were at the end of their time in Denver. But those two, I think both of those guys are good.
Yeah, I like Malik Beasley. I think he'll be a good role player.
And it's like when you have a guy like D'Angelo Russell, who isn't good at defense, and you have a guy like Karl Anthony Towns, who isn't good at defense, having a good defensive wing who can make threes, and hopefully, I don't know how much he's going to ask for Malik Beasley, but I think the Wolves just have to pay him whatever he wants.
Yeah, because I feel like that type of guy, like him and Robert Covington types, they're a hot commodity. Everybody wants them, and few people have them,
I think the Wolves probably could have gotten more for Robert Covington, but I always liked him more than like our friend Bryce. Bryce thinks he's a little overrated. I think in Houston he was used. Did you watch any Houston games after they traded for him?
Yeah.
He was a monster, wasn't he?
I like him. I think that's like a number one situation he could be at too. All he has to do is play defense and stand at the 3-point line.
That Rockets team is scary.
Yeah.
They did it.
If they can figure it out, like defensively, I think they could have had something.
So we're nearing the end of our podcast, but before that, I do have some rapid fire questions that I'm going to ask every guest who comes on an NBA related podcast. And if Jacob comes on, I'm still going to ask the same questions because, I like consistency. So, okay, first question. Who did you think was going to win the finals this year?
Honestly, this year was kind of I had no idea. I still really like the Bucks, and I would probably guess them because no one can guard Giannis. My sleeper pick would have been Toronto, though. I think they really good defensively. They have winners. I don't think they have enough They don't have enough scorers, but they would be my sleeper pick. But if not, I'll take the Bucks.
Okay, I would probably go with the Clippers or the Bucks, but Raptors isn't a bad choice at all. Okay, MVP.
Giannis.
Yep, same here. Defensive Player of the Year.
I think the argument is there for Giannis again. He guards everything, but I don't know. Let me get back to you on that one.
I mean, that's
Let me get back to you. Do
want me
what?
to come back to you after all the questions are done?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to surprise you with a question. I mean, these are all kind of surprises because I didn't prepare you for these. But I'm still going to surprise you with one. Okay. Who do you have as your coach of the year?
Who do I think is the coach of the year, or who do I think will win it?
You could either.
Okay, I think that Frank Vogel has a chance to win it just because he's got a lot of personalities and everyone likes the Lakers. But I think that Nick Nurse should win it again.
I agree.
Raptors fanboy Jacob Keith says Nick Nurse is a top 5 coach in the league.
That's just because you want to steal Masai Ujiri, though.
No one needs to know that.
Okay, who do you have as your most improved?
Ooh. I think that I don't know. If you look at like from a winning standpoint, I mean, I don't know. I like Luka weirdly for most improved.
It's not a bad choice.
You know, but I think Bam. I got to give it to Bam. You know, I he plays hard. I'll give it to Bam. I like him.
I would probably go Bam, Brandon Ingram, or Devontae Graham. I haven't completely made up my mind yet. Okay.
I like Devontae Graham too. That'd be a good one.
Rookie of the year. Feels pretty obvious.
Yeah. RJ Barrett. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, John Morant, obviously, if you couldn't detect the sarcasm, but
yeah.
Okay. Then did you come up with the defensive player of the year yet?
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it to Anthony Davis.
That's who I had too. Okay.
I just don't see anyone playing better. I mean, Giannis would be my number 2.
It's tough. A defensive player is tough. I'd probably flip it from you, but Giannis has to be in consideration.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to switch it up. We're going to go. I know you host a culture podcast. I'm going to have you plug that here in a couple minutes, but do you have any music or albums that you've been listening to lately?
So I don't really, weirdly, this is Jacob Weird moment. I don't really listen to music. I really listen to, like, the only time I listen to music is Star Wars music when I study. But if I was to plug one, I would say Rogue One music, because we talked about a little bit before the podcast how much I like Rogue One, and that's kind of put me in the mood to watch it. But it has great music for not being a John Williams score.
Okay, what is the best John Williams score to you then? We'll change this up a little bit.
Duel of the Fates.
It's a good one. I would probably go with the fourth theme.
Yeah, that would be a good one. 2 would be, for me, 2 would be the love scene between Anakin and Padme, because just to get you in the feels.
John Williams, none of his, like, you just go through the songs and it's just, like, so iconic. Like, low key, I didn't realize that he did the Harry Potter theme song.
Yeah, the theme for Schindler's List is unreal.
And then, so, what's a movie or TV show that you've enjoyed recently?
The Wire would be my TV show, but also Clone Wars. Shout out Clone Wars for coming back. You know, I've just been all in. If you can't tell, I love Star Wars, so it's finally back. We've got the best. I think probably the best arc in the series is going to come out starting Friday. I don't know when this is coming out, but it comes out on April 17th. It's great. I'm so excited.
So you're saying season 7 is good?
Season 7 is very good. The first arc was good. The second arc was so mediocre. I can't even describe how mediocre it was. But I think this last arc is going to be a top 5 arc ever. Okay,
then my final question. It kind of was raging in our group chat a couple weeks ago because of me. Forrest Gump. Overrated, underrated, or properly rated?
Words cannot describe how overrated this movie is, right?
Wait, say that one more time. Say that one more time.
Words cannot describe how overrated this movie is.
My man.
I cannot. It's fine. It really is. It's fine. Tom Hanks is good in it. It's a neat story. Don't play it on cable every 5 minutes. I feel like every time it's a Sunday afternoon, I'm just scrolling through the channels. Oh, Forrest Gump is on. I don't care.
Did it deserve Best Picture over Pulp Fiction and Shawshank Redemption?
Absolutely not. Shawshank Redemption is legitimately one of the best movies ever. And Pulp Fiction was good, but like Shawshank Redemption is 3 times the movie Forrest Gump has ever thought about being.
My man. All right. You have a podcast, don't you?
I do. Along with one of my friends, Thoughts from the Round Table. It's great. We talk about Star Wars a lot. We talk about movies. We've done some really good ones recently. We interviewed a guy who has an Instagram page which with 130,000 followers. We talked about Knives Out, which is really good. Like that movie. We do an episode every week on Clone Wars. So if you're into Clone Wars like I am, highly recommend that one.
Yeah,
And
make sure you subscribe to his podcast.
yeah, it's on YouTube, Thoughts from the Round Table, on wherever you get podcasts, Thoughts from the Round Table. We have Twitter, Instagram, and a Discord server. So check those out.
Well, Jacob, thank you very much for coming. Like, subscribe. Pretty much everything Jacob said about his is true about mine as well, except his is probably better because he has a consistent co-host. But I really appreciate you taking your time, Jacob. Thank you so much. This was a fun game to watch and go back to.
Yeah, it was super fun. If you need anyone to talk about the Knicks, let me know.
Well, and like we said, we're both getting into The Wire right now. So expect whenever we both finish The Wire, we're definitely going to carve some time out to talk about The Wire.
Great show. Great show.
You come at the king, you best not miss. That's what Mello said on April 8th, 2012. Thank you for listening, and thank you so much.